Hey out there again, YouTube. I'm gonna be doing two separate videos today. This one, last night I was very heavy-hearted, and I just kept thinking about the children of this world and the destruction that's leading down to just it's going to be terrible. And one thing that I guess one soft spot I've always had on my heart has always been children. And to mistreat children, just it enrages me, really. I'm going to be talking a little bit about my background as well as to why I'm a tad bit kind of blunt and abrasive. If you knew my past, you'd actually see that I've actually changed a lot. But talking about these children and what they're going through, it's just terrible. I'm currently in Japan, like I've said on a few videos for the new people that are tuning in. And I have to kind of find out about what's going on in the world a little late because I don't have like television like that. So I kind of have to be connected in some way through social media or YouTube. And I spoke about how I got close. I mean, I've been a Christian for about 13 years. However, I've had a few backslides, and when I came to Japan, I got back on track. And besides the urge in my heart and my soul, the quickening that I talk about a lot, I clicked on YouTube and I saw all of these things happening before my eyes that I was just shocked about, this bringing drag queens to read to children, and they have like children with these transvestite people, or God forbid you name them outside of their, I mean, that's just ridiculous. I don't even want to get started on that. That was my first time hearing about this LGBTQ. I'm probably saying it wrong, but that's the first time I ever encountered their concept of life and their forceful cult-like beliefs on everyone else, because that is abnormal. I also saw the other day that they just kicked a young man out of college because he didn't agree that there was more than two genders. I mean, he was in science class and he was just stating biology, and that biologists would not agree with the fact that there's 72 plus genders. It's just outrageous. But children are involved in trafficking every day, and now they're being exposed to all this confusion. They've taken a lot of parental rights away, which it gets me hype thinking about it, because my children are my everything. So I will have to pop off if need be. I just, I'm sorry to my Christian followers. Don't follow my example, or do. But when it comes to your children, I'm sure God would not have a problem with you protecting them the best way you know how. I also saw some very disturbing footage that just, about these pedophiles and how they're starting to claim that they have rights and that this is a sexual, what's the word? I can't think of the word, but basically they're saying like that's what they like, their sexual orientation. So like some people might like black people, some people might like white people, some people might like Spanish people, but these are people, and those are children. Like, you know what I mean? It's like saying, oh, well, my type is a goat. That's bestiality. That I mean, these things that I'm seeing, it's just, if this is not the end of the world, I just don't know what is. So I'm gonna go in a little bit. We need to pray for just the children around the world. And I also have a video that I talk about growing up with a terrible parent. If there's any teenagers out there watching, because I would love to get into the youth community because I've been there, and I had a rough childhood, and I escaped when I was 15, and I joined the military when I was 18, and I've been living on my own ever since. So I'm gonna tell you a little bit about my story. I deleted my testimony because it was like, I was not proud of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk about me and my sister growing up and how that was. So basically we were raised with a single mom, and my sister and I have different dads, and we're about 5 years apart. I'm older. My mother abused us both in different ways. We were treated very differently. I was absolutely hated by my mother. My mother is white and my dad is black. Same thing with my sister, but her dad is Hispanic, black. And she was just very abusive physically, mentally, emotionally to me in every way. She hated me because she hated my father. She was never married to either of our dads. So also, my mother's side of the family was very racist. So we endured a lot of persecution for our color and our hair, and everything about us was just unacceptable to my grandparents. And they were all strong, devout Catholics, which gave me a really bad taste in my mouth for Catholicism later on. It's a long drawn out story, but my sister, so I was hit, kicked, abused, punched, thrown things at, told that she wanted me to die. She hated my guts. She called me the N-word. She called the cops on me and just stir up problems. She threw knives at me. The woman has tried to kill me several times. She sprayed bleach in my eyes. Oh, the list goes on. I'm just giving you just a short tidbit of pictures. But as for my sister, my mother ended up having a boyfriend when I was about 9 years old, and my sister was about 4 or 5. And my sister was molested by her boyfriend. And so my personality as a child when I was really young was to lay down and take all my mom's abuse, because she had me so brainwashed into thinking that it was my fault, and that I was just a terrible person, and I was like my father, and I would amount to nothing. So my personality was just very quiet and unprovoking. And after my sister's incident, I lost respect for my mother, and I changed. The world got to me finally. So after my sister was molested at the age of about 5, my mother continued to keep her boyfriend in the house. And he lived with us for years. I got very angry. I started hitting her back. I didn't have any respect for her. I would spit on her. If she hit me, I'd hit her back. I was plotting death on people in the house. It was terrible. It was a terrible situation. I got really dark. I turned atheist. If the reason why I turned atheist was that there was a lot of spiritual aspects that were involved in this as well. We lived in an apartment building. I'm from South Florida, where there was a lot of occultic practices going on in that building. And we would literally see demonic manifestations in our apartments. Because, we were evicted and evicted and evicted. Our life was very unstable. My sister was favored, believe it or not. She was actually treated like the golden child. My mom never laid a finger on her. She was glorified, and she was just my mom's favorite. But she allowed my sister to be used. And that's when I lost respect for her. And then come to find out all these years later that the abuse continued, and my mom would send me away so I didn't interfere with, I don't even know if she was involved in allowing this to happen, because my sister and I spoke about this, and she would ask, where was mom? I really feel like she would leave so that he could do whatever he wanted. So I became so I was talking about the occultic stuff. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. Her boyfriend was from Mexico. He was involved in many gangs and many occultic practices. He practiced Santeria. He would go into sleep paralysis every night. The man had demons attached to him, if not possessing him. My mother did a lot of drugs with him. My mother was in and out of jail. They would have a lot of drug dealers come by the house. We've almost been killed several times. It's been a journey. There were also many other occultic practices in the building. We had a few Haitians that lived upstairs that practiced some type of voodoo rituals, and then one of my mom's best friends that was one of our neighbors on the end actually revealed that she was a witch. So this was the first time in my life that I was introduced to all of these occultic ways of life. I didn't even know they existed. I didn't even know they were real. And then pretty much I ended up turning atheist I tried to. I wasn't an atheist. I don't want to say I was an atheist because that's so no offense, but I think that's the stupidest mentality out there. I guess I tried to have logic because I was tormented by demons all the time. So I would have conviction in my heart from God, but these demons would terrorize me every night. I couldn't sleep, and I just wanted something to make sense. So it's when I dove deep into science to try to figure things out, and that doesn't work. Science does not disprove spirituality. It's actually quite contrary. Scientists cannot explain spirituality. So that's a little bit of that spiritual aspect. There's way more, but I'll go into detail about that on another day. So my sister was continuously molested, and I was continuously abused. And Then my father decided to come back into my life when I was about 10, and that was a whirlwind that I will talk about in another day. But my mother she made terrible decisions. She was like a child. She always rebelled. She always did whatever she wanted. She made the worst decisions. She'd do drugs. She'd do the worst things. And she would send me away all the time. So she had everyone thinking that I was this troublemaking child. And I'd basically beg for help from everyone. And then I got dark. And when I was about 15-ish, she sent me away to Port St. Lucie to live with my aunt and uncle, where a lot transpired with my sister, because when I came back, we were no longer friends. She was completely changed. The whole entire family, if you want to call that a family, turned against me. So I was always the black sheep. They hated me because I was controversial and I would stir up problems. But I was the only one telling the truth. And I just couldn't understand how just mentally deranged this whole situation was. Like, oh yeah, so you three are going to be a happy family, but you guys are just going to ignore like everything that is abnormal here. So, every day I lived in a jail cell. I literally would wake up and fight with them, leave, come back and fight with them. And this was my life in a nutshell until the cops were called on me several times. My mother would turn everyone against me in the family. She'd say that I'm a thug. I actually almost joined a gang. I had many gang member friends that I would hit up to get my way, because I turned into quite the tyrant. And if I didn't get my way, then I would threaten people. And it wasn't like I would just walk around like a bully. I wasn't bullying people. It was kind of like a Robin Hood scenario of where I was tired of people's crap, and if I saw if I had friends that their boyfriends would beat them up or something, I would send my gang member friends to go and check him. Or I would, I've had my mom's boyfriend checked a few times by a few gang members, but it turned hostile because he's also in a gang, and it was bad. And then he also had a brother that came from Mexico who also attempted to molest us. It was not a good situation. There's so much more to that story, but I just wanted to give you a little back brief of who I am and why I desperately needed Christ, and just how good God is and how merciful He is, and how He just delivered me from my many terrible situations, some that I talk about and some I choose not to. But pray for the children out there, because that's just what I went through and my sister went through, and we're damaged. We're working through it, but these children have no chance with these school systems, and basically these parents that are setting them up for failure by letting transvestites just confuse them. There's so many decisions that children need to make in life that they don't need to be confused anymore. The burden of being a child and trying to make it in this world and not knowing who you are is already detrimental to someone's self-esteem. And trying to, figure out what you're going to do in life, who you're going to marry, or before that even, what college you're going to go to, getting straight A's, focusing on just what to do next. There's so many decisions. Where to live, if I want children, if, the benefits of jobs. Like, there's so many decisions to make as a child, and confusion is not, it's just not the way to go with children. So please pray for our children, fellow Christians. Also pray for the persecuted Christians around the world. And I'm going to be making another video after this. I feel sentimental today. So I love you guys. I hope this helps someone.